Hello, Market Club members everywhere. Adam Houston here, coming to you from the digital studios of Market Club. Well, here we are. It's the 24th of August. We have about 5 trading days left for August, and I think a lot of people will be happy to see August go because it's been a very quiet month. To illustrate that point, we're looking at the S&P 500 cash, and you can see quite clearly that we have just been sort of moving in this mode, just much like July. Just the dark days of summer is very quiet, boom, up, very quiet, just up. Again, very quiet markets, and the old adage in trading is you don't sell a quiet market. So I think that's something to remember. But the one concern I do have is the fact that we are seeing a little bit of a divergence on the RSI, meaning prices are going higher, but it's not prices are going higher, but it's not followed by the RSI. Something to be a little bit concerned about, but nonetheless, all of our trade triangles, if we put those on and refresh them, which is something you should do, are all positive. You can see that quite clearly. Now, the daily is not so important as the weekly and the monthly, but certainly when you get all three together, that's a strong trend. Pretty much the same picture in the Dow. The trend is your friend, and the trend with all our trade triangles green is very positive, and we expect this market to move higher over the 20,000 level. A little bit of concern, as I said before, is the divergence on the RSI, but it's more important as to what the trend is doing with our trade triangles, in my opinion. So let's move on to look at the NASDAQ. Like the S&P 500 and the Dow, the NASDAQ has all of its trade triangles positive with a plus 90 score, indicating a strong trend. You can see it's just basically moved up. You can see our trend change clicked in right here at 4,980. That's indicated by the corresponding triangle right here. So the trend's clearly been on the upside, and it's worked out well, and it hasn't changed yet. So stay with that. I think after Labor Day, after the 5th of September, we'll see a lot more action coming into these markets and more volume as traders return back from their holidays. So let's go on to look at gold. We're looking at spot gold. Now, spot gold does have a red trade triangle indicating you should be on the sidelines in this market at the moment. We use the weekly for trend, which is still positive, and the daily for timing. That's for intermediate term traders only. Longer term, we still have a positive monthly, which is a good sign, and a positive weekly, which is also a good sign. But we are just below the 50 level, so we may see more backing and filling, but I've said this before. I think what's happening here potentially in the gold market is, let's just clear the screen and put a chart like that. It's a close-only chart, and we can draw a trend line that we're looking at. So what we're seeing, we think is going to happen, is we're coming to to the apex of a triangle, not to be confused with these triangles. And I think it's going to break out on the upside. That's normally what happens, a continuation pattern, up, forming a triangle, and then breaking out to the upside. So let's see if that pattern continues true. A little bit of a concern, we are below the 50 line, but barely. But I'm more concerned with the daily turning around and putting some momentum back into this market on the upside. Looking at crude oil, we can see that it's had a really nice move up from the $40 level to close to $50 before pulling back at this big down day. That was the down day to exit on at 47.28. Market's currently trading at 47.18, very close to those levels. But nonetheless, it would appear as though we're trying to make this trend change. But I want to show you this. This is the important element to look at, in my opinion. So let's just go to a line chart, take all of our trade triangles off, and scope this out to the maximum. All of this is very easy to do with Market Club, just one click, and there we are. So this is what I wanted to show you, and that's the trend line that goes from the highs here and through just about there. So you can see that we're seeing some resistance where the trend line kicks in. If we see the market break over the highs that we've just seen and close that way, then that's a pretty significant change, simply because this trend line, which began last July, is over a year old, and that's a significant motion. We may go sideways a little bit further, but nonetheless, if we break over it, then that's a major item to look at in crude oil. So just remember those levels, and that would be the highs, probably around the 49 level, 49.50 level on the October contract. So that's rapidly coming to a close. This one will be moving into December. So, but that's one of the things I'm looking at, is this long-term 12-month, 13-month trend line in crude oil. Watch that very carefully. Hey, I'm Adam Hewison from Market Club. Quiet markets, but be careful. Don't become complacent and don't fall asleep with these markets because something big is coming down for sure. Have a great trading day, everyone, and thanks for watching this video.